I have not one but two guests for today's breakdown. They are from ActionRocket, which is the go-to creative agency for all things CRM. If Connor and Ben, if you would mind introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about what you do at ActionRocket.
Yeah, my name's Connor. I'm one of the senior CRM developers here at ActionRocket. So I look after all things code and technical for our clients, which is a lot of fun.
My name's Ben. I am a lead design at ActionRocket. I've been with the agency for about 7 years now, so pretty much part of the furniture these days. So in charge of just kind of ensuring creativity and kind of a clear messaging across all of our CRM and work we do, design work we do.
I am going to go ahead and share the email that we're kind of going to walk through today. My first kind of question as we bring up and share it is really around if you could tell us a little bit about the kind of the brief and the goal behind this campaign. So kind of how that shaped what you created.
Yes, well, I can kick that off. I guess briefs are always a big topic with our clients. We always get a kind of variety of briefs. Some are super detailed, some not so much. So I guess we try and set up a structure to kind of help clients kind of talk through and break down that specific campaign they want to brief. So we try to be as helpful as we possibly can. With BBC Studios, we've worked with them for since I joined, so I think they've been a client for maybe about 8, 9 years. So we've got a super close relationship with them, and we work really well. We're very much collaborative. So there's a lot of discussions, kind of back and forths. So it's a super sort of open conversation, which is one of the reasons we kind of love, I guess, working with them.
It does, it kind of then you get to know when you get the brief for the individual email, if you've got that relationship, you almost know what their overall goals are as well. So that helps.
Sure, for sure. I think with Walking with Dinosaurs, so they always have different teams for different productions. So of course that specific team are always, they kind of know exactly what they want. They know exactly kind of all the kind of like smaller details about that production. So that kind of really helps. We'll always have ideas, but that kind of helps gives us a bit more kind of, I guess, guidance and just kind of nail those smaller details.
So if we start to walk through the email, I think, yeah, maybe this is one for you, Connor, is as we walk through it, I'd love to know kind of a little bit more about the kind of the interactive features and how they work, because it's such a, it's kind of a rare example of kind of like the fully embedded interactivity. And it's a great example of kind of what's possible in email. And you don't see a lot of emails like this drop into your inbox. So yeah, as we walk through it, there's obviously the initial, I want to call it a landing page, but that's completely the wrong word, I'm sure. But kind of the first part you see here, the click to enter.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go ahead and click on it and people will see what I mean, because it then takes us into the kind of the next part of the email. And all the interactivity here. So could you walk us through this page a little bit?
Yeah, so that intro is something that we've done for BBC Studios before. We did something similar with a previous campaign we did around Doctor Who, where you had kind of a click to enter and the kind of TARDIS doors open, and it sets up the email really nicely in terms of kind of preparing people for that level of interactivity and kind of giving them a forward as to exactly what's sort of awaiting them on the other side. So they're kind of aware that this is going to be a bit more than your kind of standard email experience. And yeah, it's a fairly simple effect to pull off. It uses sort of a tap to reveal style effect. In fact, most of this in here uses tap to reveals, just all kind of chained together in a clever way using input checkboxes in HTML, and then a bit of CSS animation to kind of bring it all to life.
I think just to touch on that, like it's super important to kind of create like a really immersive kind of experience for the customer. I think one thing that we missed on the click to enter page is kind of we created a logo that kind of transitions in from under the soil. And when you click on the click to enter button, the whole kind of email shakes, it kind of rumbles to kind of give like the effect of a dinosaur kind of walking, which is like a really nice touch.
I love that as the first touch as well, because then as soon as you get through to this bit, you're like, I want to see what else is there. I want to see what else is going to happen, what's going to come. And straight away, you've obviously then got the clouds moving. So it's kind of goes from that shake to that next bit of kind of movement, which kind of keeps it flowing. Brilliant. And then obviously the kind of bits we're kind of used to, the headline, the bit of copy, the link to watch the trailer. I love how there's movement throughout this as well. So even the movement of the images here is so fun. And then this is more of what you were saying, more of the click to reveal as you come down.
So just to give you some context, Vicky, as to what the campaign was. So the production was Walking with Dinosaurs, the second one they've done. And the idea of the show was to kind of take watchers through a set of 6 different stories, which were specific to 6 different dinosaurs. Those dinosaurs all had a specific character, they had a name. So I guess it kind of really felt like you were following like a specific character. And there was a lot of backgrounds within each show that talked about kind of the archaeology behind how they kind of discovered those dinosaurs. So when it came to kind of designing the email, we really wanted to kind of take that story and kind of, I guess, implement it into our own kind of email story, which the guys, I mean, Con's done an amazing job of kind of like putting out all those kind of small interactions and just really kind of creating that kind of experience that's kind of true to the show.
Yeah, that feel does come across in like what you just said is then, yeah, and you feel part of it as well, don't you? Because it's quite immersive. You get the trowel and you get that story that you just mentioned with those 6 elements. So they kind of what each of the bones represents, each of those kind of those elements that you take each of those episodes. I love this with the shovel, being able to move the shovel around. So
Yeah, I think the shovel really ties it together. I know we were just talking about kind of bringing people into the story. I think the shovel is kind of a big part of that. Very pleased we were able to get it working and get it sorted. It was quite finicky to get done. Quite a few bugs in that one, but I genuinely think it's one of the nicest parts of this is allowing people to kind of pick up that shovel and then use it then to dig out for themselves. Just really adds to that interactivity, I think.
and then because then when you open one, you've then got that almost the quiz element as well, which is fun. Because I was playing around with this and I was like, oh, I don't actually know anything. I need to go and watch the TV program because I know nothing about dinosaurs, and my daughter would be embarrassed of me. So yeah, it's kind of there's the interactivity of opening one up, but then it even goes another step further with the kind of the quiz element, which I always think is really it's a popular from a like not just an email but any kind of marketing format is people love that kind of that quiz and question element, don't they, kind of testing their knowledge. So I think that was a really interesting strategy to bring that in as well.
I think one thing to note as well, Becky, is it's when it comes to kind of gamification, it's really important to kind of make it as clear as possible as to what the kind of what the user should be doing. So including like little prompts, Con has added in, you can see small shimmers on the bones that are clickable. We didn't want to make it too easy, so we kind of included, I think about 10 bones, 6 are clickable, but at the same time, you don't want to make it too difficult and just kind of jar the kind of the flow of the experience. So I think Con's done an amazing job of kind of again adding in those small kind of details in terms of what the user should be doing.
And you can even see that with the copy that you've used. So even at the beginning, you've got like click to enter, and then here you've got, click the shovel, click bones to dig, which, like, you could have, you know, you could put something. I see people try and be like, really fancy with these things, or like you say, trying to kind of elaborate or make it sound really like, it's going to be really adventurous. Do this, but actually, what you need is people to actually do the thing. So you need the clearest language possible. So to what you said, um, and then the focus goes on to those bits they're opening rather than the copy. So it's quite clever how led people down to this is what you need to do. Yeah.
We actually called it the Nan test, Vicky. So you kind of got to look at it as if you're, could your Nan kind of like navigate through the interactions, just to make sure it's completely accessible, for everyone, right?
I love that. Yeah, because one of the things I do when I'm copywriting is a lot of the time you have to write it for a certain level of kind of reading. You don't want to use too fancy words, but I've never, heard that kind of analogy of, could you get your nan to use this, which is really great fun. Because I guess that then the BBC and Walking with Dinosaurs, they have quite a broad audience, I imagine, because people of all ages are going to be
Exactly.
subscribed and are going to be invested in this kind of show. So you have to make it, as easy and as accessible for everyone that you can.
Sure, and it's super easy for us when we're kind of designing it and building it to kind of understand the journey, because we're so immersed in it. We know exactly what to do. So it's really important for us to kind of test it with the people that haven't been working on that campaign, for example, just to make sure that journey is kind of super clear and they can kind of navigate through it as easy as possible.
On that kind of, you were saying, like, obviously you guys are working on it and kind of testing it between yourselves. I'd love to know kind of how do the two of you, what does it look like when the two of you are kind of working together on a campaign like this? Obviously you've got the design side of it and then the practical, the having to build it. Do you have like a set process for how that works, or is it quite flexible going back and forth between you, with kind of the ideas and the implementation?
There's always a lot of back and forth, huge amount of collaboration. I think, I mean, Ben and I sit opposite each other in the office, so we're always back and forth over the monitors, just asking, "Oh, how's this? How's this going to work? How does this look?" But even right from the start, I think, we got everybody involved in this in the brainstorming session. So not just sort of, developers, designers, but also sort of account managers and planners and all sorts of people across the agency to feed ideas in. So it's a really big kind of collaborative effort, and you can see each of like the little ideas. You can almost trace that back to an individual person. It's a really big sort of collaboration. Um, and in terms of a process, I don't think we have necessarily we have an ongoing process in terms of how we put things together. But in terms of collaboration, it's very much just I have a question. Can you jump on a call really quickly? Okay, how does this work? Can you mock this up for me? And it's very much a back and forth between us in terms of uh, how we work together and kind of always keeping each other in the loop. Yeah.
I guess that keeps the creative flow going with something like this,
Hmm.
and kind of seeing, almost pushing what's possible. With that, do you then have to, I assume then you also have to take into account, and I don't know how much kind of, obviously because you guys are developing this and coding this, but things like deliverability and accessibility, how much does that kind of affect things when you're kind of coming up with those ideas and creating a campaign like this?
In terms of accessibility, I think that's it's always forefront anyway with everything that we do. Interactive emails are difficult to make accessible. There's only so much that you can do, unfortunately. We're fortunate that the sort of fallback experience for this, for people who can't see it in their browser, or sorry, see it in their email client, is to go out to the browser, and the browser has far better sort of accessibility capabilities than your email client does. So that's sort of the key here in terms of getting that accessible sort of experience. In terms of deliverability, we're BBC Studios have a really engaged audience, and they're really good at kind of they've got their lists very clean. So we don't really struggle with deliverability at all in terms of anything that we send to them. They segment out, and when they send to their kind of most engaged audiences first to kind of get that reputation up, and then obviously they can carry that out for the rest of the sends then. So we're very fortunate that you know they're very hot on it in terms of their deliverability.
That's kind of the dream client then, isn't it? Because if you want to run a project or a campaign like this, you have to have all those elements in place to make it successful. And I think it's worth noting as well that here, obviously, you've still got all the email must-haves. Like, so the footer is always there, and kind of you've got the logo at the top. So all those kind of things that we would expect to see are all in that email. It's just that everything, else has been brought to it.
So I think we touched briefly on it earlier, that the bones, 6 of the bones are clickable. Each of those bones are kind of connected to each of the dinosaurs in the six stories. So once you click onto one of the bones, that specific dinosaur pops up. In this case, Albi. I won't even try and pronounce what type of dinosaur Albi is. Kind of, you want to have a go at that one?
God, Pachyrhino. Oh God, no, maybe not. I thought I had it for a second then, and then the words
I
just didn't
thought
make it
you
out of my
did.
mouth.
Yeah.
So we've kind of created, to tie with the theme, or the dig theme, kind of like a bit of a jagged outline. So it's almost like you're kind of digging into the soil. Then we set up essentially a quiz that allows the user to kind of learn a little bit more about that specific type of dinosaur. And it's even kind of interactive elements like this. We've got little rollovers, and it's just tiny details like that that kind of really, I guess, bring that immersive experience to life. So if I click on this answer, it's wrong, so it pops up red. Again, wrong. I mean, I know the answers to all of these naturally, but
Yeah, me too.
I won't go straight into the right answer. And then once you click on the correct one, it pops up, gives you a little bit more info about that answer, and allows you to continue digging. Again, that having that continue digging call to action was really another really important kind of element of keeping the flow to the journey. Then once you click on that, we included like a small detail of an excavation flag, just to kind of show the user that element of the dig's been completed. And I'll do one more. And there's George. I can pronounce George's dinosaur name. So there you go, correct answer, and then continue to dig. And then that happens throughout the 6 different stories behind each of the dinosaurs.
I think also every time you look at this email, because you've put so much detail into it, you see something new. So like when you open that second one, I was like, oh well, even the edges of the pictures are kind of look like you've been digging. Like they're all kind of got that jaggedy effect. You know, it's not just the picture comes up. And I think there's so many layers in this that I imagine everybody wants to go through and kind of click all of these different 6 in here, because there's something you notice each time.
Stems back to what Connor was saying about kind of collaboration, because we've got an amazing team here. Everyone's like super talented. So when we had these get-togethers, these brainstorms, all these kind of tiny details kind of come from a different person. You know, someone kind of be like, why don't we try this, or could this be a good idea? And when you bring all of those kind of small details together, it just creates a really like fantastic interactive email.
Do you mind me asking how long you have for like a campaign like this? Are we talking kind of like weeks, months? Kind of what's kind of the turnaround time roughly?
So I mean, this was a while ago now. We printed everyone. I want to say it was about 3 or 4 weeks, Con.
Yeah, I think that was about right. A lot of that time, I think we were waiting for assets from them as well. So in terms of like actual time that we spent working on it, was probably about 2 weeks.
From a concept perspective, I think we kind of had it nailed down within about a week. and then we were kind of able to start pardon the pun, but digging into the kind of design side of things. And then yeah, like Con says, it's just a case of kind of waiting for those final assets.
So then we come to the, like, if you scroll down a bit as well, because we were talking about details and things, there's another kind of call to action, which is the watch, which again, when you, it's got that kind of changes cover when you kind of scroll over it. And I even like down the bottom underneath that as well. Again, you've got another image. It's almost like the hidden kind of dinosaur down there. So yeah, and was the main, obviously you want people to use the interactive elements, but then the other big goal, I guess, then is to get them through to watching the trailer and the show.
Yeah, and we've actually included three sets of call to action. So in the hero, we had a call to action that links them directly to watch the trailer. Once they completed the dig on the sixth reveal, an additional pop-up appears again to drive them to watch the trailer, and then also as a kind of tertiary message at the end. So yeah, like you said, that's the end goal, to drive them to watch the trailer. So that was obviously something that also we had to consider.
Yeah, but it's again quite clever because, like you say, you've used that call to action several times, but it's the same call to action throughout. So although there's lots to do here and there's that interactive elements, like the goal is ultimately the same, which yeah, that all drives people to the same kind of element there. I'd love to know also, with kind of all the interactive bits we've been talking about, if that what's kind of, is there anything new or any kind of new trends or any other kind of interactive things that you're seeing in email at the minute that you guys are using or want to start doing? Or is it kind of really, and again, I'm going to use the pun, but digging down into kind of making these, using these?
I think gamification is definitely a big one. Obviously, we're looking at a good example of it here, but we're seeing a lot of brands do even just smaller versions of this, where there's sort of simple click to reveal effects where you're just kind of revealing more information. It's not necessarily as in depth as this, but even stuff like that is always fun to work on. But it's great to see from a email marketing perspective as well, because it's people are sort of dipping their toes into these kind of more interesting techniques and different ways of kind of presenting information. And obviously the more you do it, or the more brands do it, the more the audiences are going to kind of respond to it and see that and see the value in it.
I guess, I mean, we're very limited in terms of, I guess, interactive elements we can use, but it's all about kind of how you scale that interactivity. I mean, throughout this journey, it's all just clicked revealed, but because it's quite a long journey, it kind of allows us to be a bit more, I guess, experimental as to how we use that interactive element.
Yeah, and it's quite exciting to see it as kind of inspiration of what's possible because, like you said, I've seen more and more, because I do a lot of e-commerce work, brands using kind of those click to reveal or spinning wheels is another one I see a lot. Kind of, you can get different discount depending on where it lands. A lot of that though is you click it and it takes you through to the kind of the site where it actually does it. To see it kind of the embedded versions of kind of click to reveal and it all in the campaigns, yeah, it's really exciting. But I think you're right. Yeah, it's kind of seeing more of it and seeing what's possible, and is definitely kind of great to see. Thank you for kind of agreeing to come and share this with us and to kind of know a little bit about what it takes to build something like this. Obviously, you guys are at ActionRocket, and if you are able to tell me where we can find them online.
Yeah, actionrocket.co is the website, but then we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, all over the place.
All the
We're
socials.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you.
Okay, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.